Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community, and neighborhoods. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Good morning, Dorothy.
Good morning, Bill.
We're swinging into summer.
Oh, in full swing, yeah.
We've had a lot of events over the last couple of weeks going on in Moore County, and now we get to enjoy a little bit of summer, but there's still so much going on, and we're going to shift gears a little bit today, and we're going to speak about the development, because we've had many shows in the past, as you're aware, of development growth in Moore County and how things have changed demographically. People are discovering us, and we've got, and you know, as a real estate broker, we've had people on to talk about all the advantages of growth.
Yeah.
And then we have equal number of people who come on and talk about the advantages of preservation. And you've heard me say many times, when I moved here in 1999, it was the landscape that captured me, and it's the landscape that still captures me today, 22 years later, and it's worth preserving.
Yes, it is.
And yet, at the same time, it's also worth working with the people that have decided to call Moore County home. They come here for jobs. They come here because of the schools. So it's a balancing act. And there's an expression that a lot of our past guests have used, intelligent growth, thoughtful growth. And to that point, we are going to be joined today by Michael Parker and Nicholas LaSala of Moore Family Farms. Moore Family Farms is an organization. Well, guys, I mean, when did you form Moore Family Farms, and tell me the reasons behind it?
Well,
Nicholas, good
morning,
morning.
Bill.
Good
Yes.
morning.
And so the reason we started Moore Family Farms was because we, just like you said, with balance, we think that development is good in the county, but we think developing family farms in the county unincorporated areas is really where we need to be growing.
Yeah. How long have you been in Moore County yourself?
Since 2011.
So, Dorothy, isn't it interesting that, you know, I'm originally from northern New Jersey. Nick is from north central New Jersey, and here we are in Moore County.
You have a magnet for attracting people from that area.
Yeah, but listen to how well he speaks.
I know.
Listen to the conviction in his voice, in between the lines.
Yep.
We love Moore County, and we love a lot of things about it, and we want to keep it in that way. Michael Parker, you are an owner of Terrace Ridge Farms out in the county, not in the city limits of Carthage, and you've been here. You're a lifelong resident.
Yes, but I have driven through New Jersey.
Oh God, did you get through okay?
Yeah, I did.
Well, I mean,
No carjackings, no robberies.
did you keep your
flat
car
tires.
windows up and
I
everything?
had all my hubcaps when I got through. Everything was cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
much prettier than I expected it.
So people who don't understand, they think New Jersey is Highway 95, and it's not. That's part of it. But northwestern New Jersey, central New Jersey, is some of the most beautiful. There's some beautiful horse farms up.
Well, we actually wound up, I don't know how we wound up off of I-95 going through.
It was a
we
mistake.
Drove through, it probably was, but we wound up weaving through some of the prettiest country that I've ever seen. I would not, from what you hear described on television.
That's right.
I would never have thought New Jersey looked like that.
That's great.
It was beautiful.
We should have Michael up to New Jersey for the holidays this year, huh?
Absolutely. Actually, New Jersey produces a great amount of the cranberries
That's
in
right.
the country.
That's exactly correct. And the best tomatoes, too. But you are a lifelong resident.
Yes, I've been here my entire life. Except I've lived out of the county some for college and work and stuff like that. But out of 58 years, I've been here probably close to 48 to 50 of them.
Family farm?
Yes, it's been in our family since 1926. We're 4 years away from a century farm.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about Terrace Ridge. It's a...
Terrace Ridge Farm is, if you really want to know the full history of it, you can come take a farm tour that we do for it. And we'll explain the history of the county and history of farming in that area. That's what we do. But Terrace Ridge Farm began with my grandfather and my great-grandmother in 1926. He built a home there and raised his children. My father came along, went into tobacco auctioneering, traveled up and down the East Coast selling tobacco. He actually sold dewberries in Cameron at the dewberry capital of the world. I have a photograph of him auctioning dewberries before they were placed on boxcars and shipped up north. He came back and started a local meat processing company there that he ran for about 30 years that was known as Parker Meat Company up until the early 80s to mid-80s. And then my daddy gave me the farm, gave my sister the business. And so when I got married, my family moved there. We've raised our 2 sons on that farm. Okay. My son started out growing produce at 13. Oh. He actually took over managing the farm at 13, growing produce, and he had a route. Every day I'd get off of work and I'd have to come home and pick him up, and we'd go door to door for him to sell okra and squash.
Is that right?
He saved his money until he could invest into cows, and he started his first herd of cows. It has developed now to where we do farm-to-freezer beef. We will process probably about 100 cows this year for people from all over the country. We have people come as far away as Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Florida, and South Carolina to buy Terrace Ridge beef. Yeah. We also do coastal Bermuda hay, and we do a lot of that. And going back to the question you asked Nick about more family farms.
Right.
Several years ago, we started having interest from people about farming. And so we homeschooled our boys. Their school was called Terrace Ridge Academy. So we started Terrace Ridge Academy, and Terrace Ridge Academy is designed to, well, it was originally the homeschool. Now we use it as an educational arm to help people learn to farm. And we're having people come from the cities who are trying to look for places where they want to homestead, and they get here and they don't know what they're doing. And it's like, how do I...
They come from New Jersey. That's a problem.
Well, the ones that we've seen, a lot of them, we're getting them from Apex, from Raleigh, Cary. We're getting them from Charlotte looking for that.
Right.
You get a lot of the soldiers from Fayetteville, and that was sort of how I got to know Nick, because Nick runs his business, and he works with soldiers, trying to work with them, from taking them from military to farming work. And so Nick found that we had a connection, and so we started working together. So Nick is a small farms consultant. He has a excellent, you'll have to ask him about his financial background and his experience with that. Uh-huh. But he works with young farmers and people who want to develop farms on their business model and their business plans. He does the business side of it.
Right.
We do the operational side. So
right.
We come out and we'll help those farmers develop fencing. We'll help them design facilities, help them advise them on their soil tests. My son has one of his degrees is in soil science. And one of the things that we do now is we do custom farming, and we also have started developing properties into farms. We have the ability to clear land and put it into coast Bermuda fields for horses, cows, hay production, and farming and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so because what we've seen is a tremendous interest in being able to get farming land, smaller lands than used to be.
Right.
And that was sort of the impetus when we started More Family Farms. Our goal was to create a resource site where the young farmers could come on, because I'm constantly having people come through the farm who they don't know, they want to build fences, they don't know how, and we help them with that. That's what we started doing until we realized the onslaught of the high-density subdivisions that are just literally taking over the farmland. And so
right.
We have started we've decided that we want to advocate for people who want the lifestyle that we have found, that I grew up in, that Nick currently enjoys out in the country. There's a tremendous market for that. Yes, and sure. People aren't, I think it's an unrecognized market, and that's what we are. So, people say, well, you're anti-growth. No, we're not anti-growth. We're pro-growth. We need more family farms. That is what we need, because that will help resolve a lot of the issues we feel that we're currently seeing in the county caused by these high-density subdivisions.
Right. You know, in addition to the pandemic, this started before the pandemic, but it accelerated, and that is there's also an urban exodus going on in the country. People can work remotely. People want to go back to a simpler life, and people are leaving these urban areas in droves. Don't you see that?
Absolutely, and that's what we're seeing. And they're seeking us out,
Right.
and they're desperate for people to teach them
Yep.
how to farm. They want to learn, and the internet's great. You can pull up a YouTube on just about anything to do, but until you get your hands dirty and actually have to go out there and sweat, YouTube cannot replace that experience. They can't do it. Now, the other thing that we're finding is that we have clients who come, I told you, from all over the country. We have a lot of them who come from nearby cities to do business with us. And when they're there, we talk to them. And what we're finding is people are desperately wanting to be able to provide for their families. They want to be able to grow their own food. They want to know where their food comes from. They want to know what goes into their food.
Yep.
And particularly the military who are here, your military people that come out, they want to know that when the store shelves go empty, they have access to food for them and their families. Do not fault them at all. And the one thing that we notice is I have a couple of people who have acre lots that they have managed it so well, they can provide almost all the food for their family with the exception of meat on a 1 acre lot if they manage it properly. Wow. And so, that's sort of like, to me, the cutoff limit. You need at least 1 acre to be able to have a garden large enough to provide for your family and to can and do that type of thing.
Right. That's, people are making what I call a lifetime pivot to the next stage in their lives, and it is a simpler lifestyle. However, the irony in what you just said to me is that, yes, a lot of the military families want to be more self-sufficient or, sustaining for themselves. But in many ways, isn't the reason for the potential increase in these subdivisions to accommodate the demographic that is the military that are moving into town?
Well, Bill, I'm glad you asked that because we think it's a function of the people are going after what is being built right now. And what's being built right now is densely packed subdivisions because that's kind of what people are used to seeing when they look at the housing market. Mm-hmm. But like you mentioned with the pandemic, people who lived in suburbs, whether they be military or whatever, found that they're vulnerable in the suburbs because when they go to the grocery store,
the supply chains are going to kill them.
That's exactly right. And, most of our food travels 1,500 miles to get to us. Yep. And I think what people really saw was, okay, I want a home for my family, but I also need some self-sustainability and some independence and resiliency. So what we're finding is that folks want to move out into a place like Moore County, and what they're seeing is only inventories of major subdivisions. And what we want to promote is that, no, folks want to be a little more self-sustaining, and we're trying to convince the developers and folks that, listen, there's a viable market out there that did not exist pre-pandemic in the numbers that would be beneficial to them. And if we start building these small family farms, 6 to 11 acres, people will come to that inventory that's available.
And what people are you trying to attract?
Well, really anyone, but what we really need is a next generation of farmers. Yeah. Because right now, the average age of the American farmer is 60.
It's crazy.
The average age of the new farmer in America is 44. These are USDA statistics. There is no profession out there that can sustain itself with the average age of new entrants being 44 years old. So a lot of folks have seen that because of whatever the reason, media, what they read, what they think they see, that farming's not a viable option for them, especially for a new family, a young family. But with the internet, with the savings that we have now, with transporting stuff all over the place, with agritourism, And with the density, like Michael was talking about, with just 1 acre, you can provide for your family basically all of the produce that you need. So with 6 or 11 acres, you will have excess. So you can sell that to your neighbors. So now small family farming becomes not just a sustainability thing,
It's business.
but it's a business. And oh, by the way, one or both of the members of the household can still hold down a white collar job remotely from their home.
Right.
So now they have dual farm income or dual income coming into the farm or the homestead.
Right.
And it makes, again, another element that makes it more viable.
The other thing
Michael?
that's very viable about it is that in the old days of my grandfather, I have pictures of my grandfather.
Yeah.
I still have his hand plows that he used behind horses there at my barn.
Cool.
Nick has actually restored one of them, and I'm hoping eventually to put in I'd like to do a museum so we could see how farmers of the past actually produced the food. Well, the problem is one man with a horse and plow, he can't tend much more than about just a few acres. Today, nearly every one of these new folks coming in are buying these small Kubota and Mahindra tractors. They have all kind of implements, and one man or woman by themselves can take 6 to 11 acres and effectively farm it and produce a tremendous amount of food and product with just one tractor and themselves. That was unheard of 40 to 50 years ago. The Cub came out and radicalized, changed that. The Farm All Cub was an industry changer in the 40s.
Right.
It came out and their ad said now one man can farm 40 acres part-time with one small 14 horsepower tractor. That is available today, and people are doing that. The exodus that you referred to in the 30s,
Yep.
you look back at it, the exodus was to the cities.
That's right.
They were going to the cities, and now it's like the cities are emptying out, and they're coming back out here. What I think is when you leave the suburbs, the subdivisions in Cary and Apex, you don't want to move exactly to what you left, and that's what we're building here. In Moore County. That's what I see out in the country. When you drive through the country on a country road and you put around a curve and there sits a 50-house subdivision with no trees around it, it is absolutely disheartening, and it is shocking to the conscience if you're a person who enjoys that pastoral rural scene you started the radio program with.
Yeah. This is a very thoughtful conversation. This is one of those conversations where you ask people to allow a paradigm shift. In other words, it's not the world that we knew as our population is aging, and we're being challenged. Our economy is being challenged. Our lifestyles are being questioned and challenged. The internet has a lot to do with that. So you guys are starting to make a case for shifting sand underneath our feet, and please pay attention. Please look at the world through a different type of lens. When we come back in the second set, I do want to play devil's advocate with you, because a lot of these younger buyers today, the way the financing is set up to purchase homes or land, it's different, and they're leveraged, and that's a challenge for them. Even though they may aspire to that, they don't always have a lot. They don't have what the VA may offer. And the other question I want to come back to you, Nick, is your relationship with the military. Were you enlisted?
Yes, sir, I was. No, I was in the Army. I was an officer.
So our guest next week, a retired colonel and an enlisted gentleman who are specializing in training military personnel when they're leaving the service and getting into civilian life. It's interesting. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. We're going to be talking about more family farms for the balance of the show. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. More Family Farms is the organization we're talking about today, with a lot of background from our guests, Michael Parker and Nicholas LaSala. When we closed the first set, I was going to pivot to you, Nick, and ask you, Michael had referenced that you are working with military families through your farm. Tell me what you're teaching them, instructing them, guiding them?
Yes, Bill. So it's been kind of accidental, actually. So I'm retired military, and because of my connections, it's only been 2 years that I've been retired. So people still know me, and when they hear about folks that they know that want to get into agriculture or get into a homestead, I'm the first person they tend to call, especially if it's in the Moore County area. But through those connections, the Fort Bragg has a Soldier to Agriculture program, which anyone leaving the military, whether you're 4-year enlistment or you're retiring, they can go through this transition program. It's a 6-week course in class, and then they can do an internship, unpaid internship at any farm in the county.
Okay.
So that's run by NC State on Fort Bragg. So I've given some farm tours, and I've actually hosted one of the interns for about 6 weeks. And what we do on the farm tour is give them kind of a background. It's usually about 2-3 hours. And you walk them through, okay, this is how we started. This is some of the ins and outs of what we're doing, some of the challenges we faced. And then particularly from a soldier's point of view.
Right.
Okay, you've done soldiering for 20 plus years. How do you transition to what looks like a completely different career set? So that's what we're trying to do. Also, what I'm doing kind of outside of the Soldier to Agriculture program is I've become this small farms consultant for military. Okay. And so on Monday, I had breakfast with another military guy who is starting a family farm. And because of my background, the last more than half of my career, I was a comptroller. And in the military, comptrollership deals with budgets. So I have a really heavy financial background from a budget standpoint, so I know numbers. And so like what Michael was talking about earlier, I tend to look at, hey, how can you save on taxes? How can you look at financing your farming venture? How do you make sure that you stay liquid? Those kinds of things. And so that's kind of the instruction that I give, really ad hoc. It's as people call me up. I don't have a slate out there that says small farms consultant, but it's a network of individuals, and that's how we work.
Okay. You're going to have to be introduced to my two guests next week, Robert Milligan and Walter Havenstein, who are going to be speaking about transitionalizing out of the military.
Okay.
Walter in particular, he's the head of MOA here in Moore County.
Okay.
And he brings a wealth of experience and knowledge from his background, and they're always looking for speakers.
Great.
You would fit the bill, 200%.
And I'd love to connect with them because what we're seeing is, and this is one of the things, it's why now, right? Why are we doing this now? And the reason we're doing this now is because all these factors are coming together to form a perfect storm, if you will. And we are at 21 years since 9/11, which means that anyone who came in the Army after 9/11, and we had a huge, or any service, we had a big increase in all the military services for 9/11 and all the conflicts that ensued. Well, they're all retirement eligible now. And after 20 years of conflict, for some of them, maybe more, they are looking for a little piece of heaven that they can be a little bit away from their neighbors because of a variety of reasons. Mm-hmm. And they can be self-sustaining, and they can help their neighbors by selling their excess. Mm-hmm. And so that transitions into, okay, why would developers want to do this? There's a lot of folks coming, a lot of elements coming together right now. So if they developed on a 200-acre lot or old farm, if they built, 10 or 20 small farms with a house and a barn on it, you could get some of that financing that might be a challenge for buying just land. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're trying to encourage developers to do is, okay, instead of 50-something houses or 110 houses on a 200-acre lot, let's do a little less density where people can actually farm it or homestead it. Mm-hmm. And now if they put a house on it and a barn on it, that individual can come in, they can homestead it, they can be a craftsman, they can open up a wood shop, they can open up a metal shop in the barn. Or they can do a small beef operation, or they could do vegetables. And that opens up the financing specifically for military for VA loan, because I can't use my VA loan to buy land.
Right.
But I can use my VA loan to buy a house
Right.
on any number of acres.
Up to, no, I think there's a limit to how many acres.
I don't believe there's an acreage limit. I think it might be a price point limit for the VA loan. So, and that's interesting you bring that up, because some people ask us why 6 or 11 acres.
Right.
Well, that's a good entry price point for people. The other piece, though, is there's a program in the county called present use value, where you can get a reduced taxes on the land that's under agriculture. And the first entry point of that is 5 acres. And the way the county tax assessors work is if you live on the land, they take an acre away for your house.
Yes.
So you need 6 to make 5.
It's a deferment.
Yeah, so you need 6 to make 5 acres in horticulture. The next level is 10 acres for agriculture. So if you want to live on the land, you actually need 11 acres, because they're going to take 1 acre out for your house, and then you have 10 acres that can go under the agriculture present use value.
Gotcha.
But that's also it's an entry-level small farm that if they get really good at it, they can buy more land, or they can lease other farmland to farm whatever it is they want to farm, and they don't have to buy that land. And now they're helping out one of their neighbors, because they're leasing farmland that a farmer now that is 60 plus years old and has no second generation, they can farm that land for them. It keeps Moore County rural agriculture, and everybody benefits then from present use value by maintaining, land under cultivation.
Michael?
Yeah, I wanted to comment about the 6 to 11 acres idea.
Yeah.
The other problem that we're seeing is 2 of the largest farmers that I know in Moore County. You mentioned one of them before.
Yep.
All right. I've talked to both of them. The current growth in this county has priced them out of being able to buy land. A farmer cannot buy $10,000 and $12,000 an acre land and expect to make anything from it. Right. So one of these farmers farms 2,000 acres. He owns 1,000, and he's told us, he said, I can't buy anymore because I can't afford it. So what they're left doing is leasing it.
Yep.
If you've got 6 to 11 acres and you're not successful at it, there are farmers out there who would be willing to lease that 6 to 11 so that we're still using it to produce something that could be eaten or made or worked here, and you're not losing it, because once it goes into a half-acre subdivision, high-density thing, you're never going to wind up plowing that land. You're not going to produce anything off of it anymore.
Yeah.
And so that is another option to look at for long-term sustainability for the county and its food sources. And if you look at the land use plan, what's the number one goal on the land use plan that we're currently under, Nick?
To preserve and protect the ambiance of the county and its agricultural heritage.
And so what we think is that this would be an opportunity to try to preserve that and to keep that vision, that beauty that you saw that enticed you here.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we on our website, we've actually created a petition, and people write into us, and they tell us what they want the commissioners to know. And we've probably collected 1,000 signatures who are opposed to the subdivisions, the high-density subdivisions. The comments we're getting they are amazing, but they are also, they seem to be very consistent. We just got one in last night. I forwarded it to you, where they said, we moved here because you had farmland.
Yep.
And now you're gobbling it up. We moved from a place that was surrounding us with subdivisions.
Yep.
Please don't force me to go somewhere else.
Yep.
And that is what we're hearing from the people who and the 1,000 people who sign it. Almost every one of them are that way. And horse country is particularly concerned about it.
Yeah. The landscape of Moore County is more important than the golf courses. It's more important than just the horse subculture. The landscape is what draws people here and what Moore County has been. And yes, we're seeing changes, and we have to have some change, but we have to preserve what is the number one draw to Moore County. Period, end of story. I've been here 22 years. I know what brought me here, and I know what brought a lot of people here, like you just said. We've got a break, and end of the second set. We're going to come back and talk about, I want to talk with you about a meeting you have next week on the 23rd at the Carthage Courthouse. I guess there's some conversations going on, a continuance. Moore Family Farms is our guest for the entire show. This is All Things Moore County.
Those ones that I know of.
1777, right?
Yeah, they've done farming since 1770. But I don't want to use them.
Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County. Moore Family Farms. It's morefamilyfarms.org. Let's end urban sprawl and overdevelopment. Let's build communities, not houses. I love that. I love that. That's simple, clear, to the point, and join the fight. The 23rd at the historic county courthouse in Carthage at 5. You've got a hearing. You've got a meeting that you're going to be. Is it with the county commissioners?
Yes, Bill, it is. So it's the third meeting. It's the second continuance of what's called a quasi-judicial hearing relative to a rezoning action that's going to occur on Union Church Road outside of Carthage.
Right.
So they're open to the public. This one being quasi-judicial, there's some specific things that you have to worry about as far as having standing and that kind of thing. So not anybody can speak at it. But because it's going to change farmland into basically half-acre lots, Moore Family Farms has gotten involved with it, and we're just trying to educate the county commissioners with as much fact as possible so they can make the best informed decision in relation to this rezoning action.
Okay. We spoke a little bit earlier in the show about Terrace Ridge Farm. We didn't really speak much about your farm. You're retired military. How many years now?
27. I've been
out for how many years?
2 years I've been out.
Okay. And in 2 years, you started Victory Vineyard.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about the farm.
So we bought the land in 2011. It had a house on it. It was actually it was developed as horse farms, 10-acre horse farms, our little community that we're on off of Cranes Creek.
Yep.
And so we bought it as a horse farm because we too at the time were drawn to Moore County as being a place that we might want to retire at. We loved the area. We loved the rural nature of the area, and we wanted some elbow room from our neighbors. So we bought it in 2011, and then when I retired 2 years ago, we decided to turn it into a vineyard and berry farm. And so right now we've had plants in the ground since January of 2021. And if you know anything about permanent crops or intensive agriculture, these take a long time. So you don't just put grapes in the ground and you at the end of the season you get grapes.
Right.
It's a great exercise in long suffering and patience.
Uh-huh.
So our first official crop will be the summer of 2023. And we're doing muscadine grapes, blueberries. And of note to the area, because my wife and I are very passionate about redeeming the land, Cameron used to be, back in the 20s and 30s, the dewberry capital of the world. And right now, no one grows dewberries in Cameron. So we wanted to bring back that historical root of Cameron and grow dewberries. So we're trying to do that. And right now, the plants look fantastic. And again, the 2 to 3 year timeline for fruit bearing. So next summer, we should have some dewberries.
Why is no one doing dewberries in Moore County?
It's a lot of urban legend. So everyone thinks that the dewberry industry in Cameron went away because of a blight.
Yeah.
It actually went away because the farmers at the time did not want to convert to modern mechanical harvesting techniques that the Pacific Northwest wanted to do. And because of the cost of labor, fewer and fewer farmers wanted to buy the machinery and expand their operations when there were easier, more productive crops, say tobacco or soybeans or corn.
Yep.
So they just they went to that crop instead of holding on to what was a little more difficult. And right now, so the Dewberry Deli that's in Cameron, they get their dewberry jam from the Pacific Northwest. And I just think that's a travesty. So
Right.
if we can just make dewberry jam out of our dewberries, that would be a success.
Describe to me the dewberry, the flavor, the texture.
So the dewberry is essentially a trailing blackberry. So there's three types of blackberries. There's a trailing, which basically crawls along the ground. That's the dewberry. Most people think of blackberries as an erect kind of vine that they can reach at eye level.
Yep.
The dewberry crawls across the ground. The amazing thing about the dewberry is it's larger than the other varieties of blackberries, and it has a very smooth mouthfeel and texture that you don't get from a regular blackberry. So I've actually, there are a few dewberries on the vine right now, and I've tested a few of them, and I was really blown away. Yeah, really excited.
That's wonderful. So, Michael, you've been here all your life. You've been in the farming business all your life. Nicholas, you're 2 years into it, but the two of you have joined forces, and you come from different places, but you're united in your desire to see this through and preserve what we have. And you both are very compelling voices. I'm very sorry that, Michael, that Victoria Riddle was going to join us today. Victoria is a broker in my office. She lives on one of the Century Farms, as you know. And you knew her dad, Sam.
Yeah, Sam ran Riddle Equipment Company in Carthage.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that my father bought our John Deere 336 baler from him in the early 70s. I remember when it came onto the farm, and we were so excited because we actually got to bale hay instead of working on the baler. So, and that baler has been great to us for 50 years. And I plan this fall, so you can tell Victoria, I'm going to have it rebuilt.
Okay.
And we intend to use a 50-year baler to bale some of our hay next year is what our plan is. So it'll be a great thing to see.
Can I tell her where you're going to have it rebuilt?
Yes. Oh, yes. And a place called Penn Yan, New York.
Penn, don't know that.
Well, it's just south of Lake Ontario, and
Oh,
I have
my
never.
goodness.
I've
That's
never
way
been,
up New York State.
Yes, it's this guy runs a shop, and he rebuilds hay balers. My son found him, and it's like, so my wife and I, we're taking a road trip, so we're going to load that baler up in October, and we're going to take it up to Penn Yan, New York, wherever that is.
Jeez.
And then I have to go back a week later and pick it up. So I'm very excited.
I'm going to try to give him a GPS route that takes him away from New Jersey. Figure out how to do that. Maybe through Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. I'll take care of Michael because Michael has taken care of me since 2011. He has been my farming mentor, and you read the card about building communities,
yes.
And that's what drew me to this area. I wanted to plug into the community, and that's what Michael Parker's doing. He is 4 years away from a Century Farm himself, and I see and I meet people through Michael that streets are named after in this county, and a guy that comes from the suburbs and has been displaced in the military, throughout my career, the draw to connect with a population that again has been here since sometimes some of them the 1700s. That's something that we wanted to be a part of, and that's what we want to continue in Moore County.
There's a tremendous history in Carthage, and you're right, the family names that meander through, right? And you, as a newbie, so to speak, you are probably one of the newer voices, much needed, and you're being brought in. And so, Michael, you spoke about your academy, and is he your first graduate? Is Nicholas your first?
Actually, Nick was not a graduate of the academy. Nick now helps me teach the academy. So we have we worked together that way before we ever set it up. that way, because Nick, he's been here since 2011. He's been doing what he's doing now for the last 2 years, but we've been working with Nick for better than 10 years over there on the farm. So I've known him for that long.
Yeah.
And he is he's an exceptional man, and I'm proud to be working with him, because you mentioned something before the show. You got to evaluate motivations of people.
Yeah.
I've never had to question any of his motivations.
Yeah, his
I
conviction
know,
is
at.
off the charts.
That's right.
Right.
And I'm proud to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to bring in people into this community.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: people think that we're anti-growth. We are not anti-growth. We want to bring in people in the community. I have met people through Nick and through the military I never would have met before. And you know what? In my community in Vass, we have welcomed all of them in. They're welcome in my house. They're welcome on my porch. They're welcome at my dinner table. That is who we are. That is what we want this county to stay. And you talked about shifting sands. It is changing.
Yeah.
But why do we have to throw out all of the good to get something else? We need to keep what's there and build on that, and take what is good and make it great.
Exactly.
Yeah. We, we get so many military families over the years, the last 5 to 7 years. The number one request they have when they're coming to look for property to live, a family, they want land. They want land. They don't want to be in Pluto. They want to be close to the sun, but they want to cultivate the land, and there's not a lot of it for us to help them with.
Well, they also want privacy.
Yes, privacy too.
They do not want the nearest family to be 20 feet away in one of these.
That's true.
Cookie cutter subdivisions.
That's true.
They want to know that they are on a place that they can watch their perimeter, because a lot of these people have faced conflict, and they want to be sure of those around them, and they want to feel secure in where they live. And to me, you can ask Nick, I think I'm right with that in the military, aren't I?
Yes, absolutely.
And there is absolutely nothing wrong with us trying to provide that security to them. They have sacrificed so much for us.
Yep.
This county ought to be willing to sacrifice a little bit for them.
Yeah, both of you. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, this is about showing developers, realtors, and builders that there's a market out here for this, and it's not just the military folks. We have folks coming from Raleigh, Illinois, California. We've bumped into people that want this rural lifestyle, and we really feel that there's a market for it, and we can make this work for everybody.
Terrace Ridge Farms and Victory Vineyard, 2 farms with different origins, and yet here you guys are today in 2022 joining forces and trying to make it better for all the people who are looking for that homestead going forward. I wish you guys the best of luck. I will post all your contact information on the podcast, which will get out very quickly. And the 23rd is right around the corner. People can reach you real quick if they need to reach out, if they have any interest in the next week or so. Who should they contact?
Through the website, the morefamilyfarms.org.
That would be the most effective way.
That's the best way to get in touch with us right now.
Okay. Nicholas LaSala, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you
Michael
too, Bill.
Parker, you guys, very compelling, both of you. I am coming to both farms.
Great.
Great. Welcome anytime.
I'm, and look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is All Things Moore County. Have a great weekend.